Hey everyone, we are back on track with uploads. Let's have a pat on the back for me. Anyway, today we will be taking a look at the road to Black Widow. How we got to this film, why it took so long. I've actually done this with Wonder Woman, so if you want to go check that out, links will be down below. So we're going to look at why, how this film was made, and also like why it took so long for us to finally get an original Avenger solo film for Black Widow. We waited so long for a Black Widow film and we finally got one this year. But did you know that we could have had one over 10 years ago? So why did it take so long for Natasha to get her adaptation? Our first glimpse at a potential Black Widow movie was all the way back in the ancient times of 2004. This was of course during a time where the movie rights to many of the popular Marvel characters like Natasha were all over the place in different studios. Fox had some like the Fantastic Four, Sony had others like of course Spidey, and everything that's attached to him apparently. The first studio to attempt this movie was actually Lionsgate, and like I previously said, this was all the way back in 2004. The studio hired David Hayter, who had helped write X-Men, X-Men 2, Watchmen and more, as well as acting in several comic book adaptations, so it's a pretty good choice. He was hired to both write and direct the potential film. His original idea actually stuck pretty closely to Natasha's comic book origin, a Red Room super soldier who's on the run from KGB agents. I've always thought it was kind of a shame that they didn't touch on the fact that Natasha could have some sort of serum running through her veins, but a bit late now. Just 2 short years later, the film was dropped. This was due to the abundance of female-led action films, or so Hayter claimed, because you know, you can never have more than 2 female-led action films in the cinema at the same time. People's heads would just explode. So the rights to Natasha went back to Marvel. No word on a movie with Natasha as a character was made until 2010. Thanks to the massive success of Iron Man, the MCU was born, and the cinema has never been the same since. And despite what some people say, I believe it's been for the best. Without these ginormous movies, smaller movies would not have a platform to stand on. There's been less people going to the cinema, so with these giant movies pulling people in, they're also pulling people in to watch the smaller movies, which I think is a great thing, but apparently not everyone does. Anyway, a sequel to the hit film was quickly put into production. Iron Man 2 added Natasha to the roster of characters along with Justin Hammer and Whiplash. Emily Blunt was originally cast in the role, but due to prior agreements she had to star in Gulliver's Travels, an equally amazing film, I'm sure we can all agree. So this film was either filming or in production during Iron Man 2's filming, so they had to cast someone else. And who else but American actress Scarlett Johansson, who at this point in time was a rising star who had appeared in films such as Girl with the Pearl Earring, The Island, The Spirit and much more. The Island's my favourite, by the way. Can I just butt in and say how weird it is to think that at this point in time Scarlett Johansson wasn't the megastar she is today, and it's thanks to these comic book movies that she is? Because she is, I don't know if she is this year, but at one point she was the highest paid actress because of these movies. Maybe other actors should start looking into them. The Natasha introduced in Iron Man 2 was a hit with fans, and talks of her very own movie happened almost immediately with higher-ups. Scarlett signed on for multiple films, and in 2010, Kevin Feige stated that there had been some talks for the solo movie, but that the Avengers movie was a top priority at that moment. Natasha appeared in several MCU movies after Iron Man 2, including every single Avengers film so far, The Winter Soldier and Civil War. But none of these were her very own solo film. We got a little peek into her background during her 4th outing, Age of Ultron, but this wasn't enough for fans. Especially because nearly every member of the Avengers had their own film at this point. Finally in 2020, it was announced that we would be getting a Black Widow film during the MCU's Phase 4. It only took 10 years. Jacques Schaeffer, who I am really sorry if I mispronounce your last name there, who actually created WandaVision, was hired to write the screenplay, and Kate Shortland, who had previously directed Berlin Syndrome, signed on to direct, and Ned Benson rewrote the script. Florence Pugh was cast as Yelena Belova, a fellow Red Room recruit in the comics, and Natasha's rival, David Harbour as Red Guardian, a Russian version of Cap who is actually Natasha's husband in the comics, and Rachel Weisz as Melina, another widow from the Red Room. These characters would be changed drastically from their comic book origins to better fit the movie and its plot, which worked out really well in my opinion. So that's it. That is the road to Black Widow. It took 10 years for the MCU to finally give us her movie. I really enjoyed it. I know people thought it was a bit too late. I kind of get that opinion, but I'm just glad we got it. I'm glad they've introduced characters like Yelena, who I'm hoping will take on the baton for Natasha, and I'm really excited to see her in the Hawkeye series, to be honest. I'm excited to see her and Kate Bishop banter. Probably will never happen, but excited for that anyway. I'm also excited for the repercussions of this film in the comic universe because Yelena is such a big character in the film. I'm sure we'll be getting some comics with her in it as a bit of a main focus, and I'm sure her personality will change within the comics now, and I'm actually really excited for that because I think Florence Pugh was amazing in the film, and Yelena was one of my favourite characters. Let me know down below why you think it took so long for a Black Widow film to be put into production. Do you think it's higher ups not trusting female-led films until Wonder Woman came about? Let me know, because that was also something I looked at when I was doing research, that higher ups were doubtful that this would make money because a female-led superhero film hadn't happened yet, and then Wonder Woman, and then they tested the waters with Captain Marvel, and then they were like, sure, let's give it a go. Anyway, you let me know your thoughts down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell to be notified when I upload. Video suggestions are always welcome down below, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone.